What is up, all you blessed and beautiful people? Today is the very first episode of a podcast. I don't even have a clever name or anything. My wonderful brother Waleed.
Peace and blessings, everybody. No, you did not butcher the name.
Okay, beautiful. So how we actually came across in our past...
I was the one who approached him, right? So I saw him in the mall. I thought I recognized him. Like, is this Attack on Bash? Is this the guy that I see in the videos and everything like that? So I came up to him. I asked him a bunch of questions about the music industry that I was interested about. And then from there on, the conversation quickly led to a conversation about morality, death, the afterlife, God. And we just really clicked with each other. And I was surprised and happy to see a believer, somebody who believes in God and quite strongly as well, quite firmly in his conviction. And from there on, one thing led to the next. And now we're here doing this podcast. We're like, we got to make some content together.
But not even just once. Like, we've continually ran into each other.
Yeah, it seems like God keeps bringing us together, even unintentionally. I remember the one day, I was in a rush to get something done, and I saw him in the corner of my eye, but I didn't say anything to him because I was in a rush, and I knew the conversation that would take a while. But then that same day, we run again into each other after I'm done doing all my tasks and my chores, and, it's like God keeps bringing us together, and that was just a sign for not only myself, but him that, we got to get together.
That was the day that, we're just right outside of my house,
Yeah, I was just right outside, I ran into you.
And I think I messaged you and told you this after I saw you, but no lie, like that day, I forget. That's what's funny about having like difficulties and stuff that we think is hard. You never forget what the fuck you were stressing over.
Yeah,
looking back in hindsight,
it all just irons out.
I do remember that day for whatever reason. It was more difficult than my average days, and seeing you again, I kind of just I took that as a sign.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, like on a day where like, maybe like I wasn't, my faith wasn't as strong as it could have been, or like I was more vibrating on a lower frequency than normal.
A little.
But seeing you, I was like, yo, like, okay, like, yo, you got me, cool.
Yeah,
like, you there.
It was nice, yeah, and I went home and I talked to my wife about it as well, and I told her, like, I keep running into Sebastian. God keeps putting him in my path, and, I pray for a good future with us and a good relationship, and it's been good so far.
I love
You're a real guy. You're a real guy.
Hey, right back at you.
Let me make a quick prayer before we start.
Yo, yes. You can even do it out loud. I would love, I don't know if you feel comfortable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I always do it. So in the name of God, the Almighty and the Merciful, my Lord and my God, the Most High, the one God of all mankind, right now, all three of us, we sit here in this room and we are about to have a conversation, and we just ask you that you untie any twists in our tongue, you allow us to speak clearly, you allow us to speak and have a really good, fruitful discussion where the truth is let out, where we just, two men being genuine with each other, which is something that is very difficult to find nowadays. And I just ask that you allow us all to have that and just a good conversation. You guide us in everything that we say. In your name, my Lord, I dedicate this and I start this remembering you, and so does Sebastian. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, beautiful, bro. Actually, okay, now I have a question just based off that.
Yeah.
Do Muslims, they say amen at the end of their prayers as well? Like,
yeah.
That's a normal...
Yeah. It's like, they usually, we say in Arabic, Ameen. Amen.
Oh, okay.
I mean, just like basically an Arabic version of amen.
Got you.
Right. So.
I know, like Alhamdulillah, right?
Alhamdulillah.
I'm probably butchering it, but...
Yeah, it doesn't matter how you say it. It's really, as long as you get the message across, right? Like, one thing which I can't stand amongst a lot of people who call themselves Muslim is they're very big on pronunciation. You have to pronounce it like an Arabic speaker. And they forget the meaning of the scriptures in favor of pronunciation in particulars and stuff like that, which is kind of annoying.
So you're saying, an example of that.
Yeah, so one of my problems is with a lot of Arabic-speaking people, specifically from the Arab world, who call themselves Muslim, is they tend to, what they do is they emphasize Arabic pronunciation over everything. Then they forget the spirit, the meaning, the message behind the Quran, the message behind the scriptures, the message behind the true religion which God has let down, instead for pronunciation. So I'll give you an example. I'm Pakistani. I'm not Arab. As far as I know, I'm not Arab. My ancestors come from the Indian subcontinent. Okay. So naturally, we pronounce things differently than an Arab would. We speak a different language. We speak Hindi. Pakistanis speak Urdu. It's pretty much Hindi, more or less, right? So we speak a different tongue. We pronounce things differently. And growing up in a Pakistani home, a lot of times when you go to the mosque, when I'm with my mom, they will try to emphasize, pronounce it in Arabic, pronounce it with perfect Arabic pronunciation, and they will forget the meaning behind the Quran. And I think that's just ridiculous, right? Who cares whether you're an English speaker, whether you speak Polish, whether you speak Russian? It's not about how you pronounce it. It's about embodying the message in the Word of God, living it. That's the most important thing.
Just like anything in life, I think, like intent.
Exactly.
intent. And
It's the heart behind it.
when you emphasize too much on these other things, you forget the intent, right? And so it's kind of like, I don't know, I have a term like lost in the sauce. They're, like, don't get me wrong, the pronunciations are important, right? But it's it's ultimately the intent. Your intent.
Not nearly as important as exactly the intent and the heart from which you proceed. It's just like, as a Pakistani, I always heard the word Allah. We say Allah or Allah. And then an Arabic speaker might say Allah, just a slightly different pronunciation. They're very big on that. There are whole schools within so-called Islam, and these are not really true Muslims. They've split off and they fought with each other. Their own brothers in the doctrine, the faith, over pretty much pronunciation. Or when I'm praying, do I touch behind my ears before I pray, or do I raise my hands, or whatever? They've split over so many trivial issues.
Very minuscule. They're forgetting the bigger picture.
They're going precisely against what the Quran says, because God says that we are not to be divided in the doctrine. We are supposed to be one. We're supposed to be united with one another. The believers, those who believe in God and they follow the scriptures, we have a special connection that nobody else in the world has. And when we fight with each other over minutia, we are forgetting this very basic doctrine that God has given us of unity, togetherness.
What is minutia?
Minutia, just like minor details,
Got you.
trivial details.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I think for anything in life, whether it's race, age, skin color, gender, like, I'm a male, they're a female, whatever it might be, we always focus on how we're more separate than we are actually more connected and more alike.
Exactly.
In a lot of the sense. And I think it's just due to being human in general. And I don't know, you can definitely get, there's, levels to it, but I don't think it's always good to judge. Like, you don't look at a tree and say that's an ugly tree. Like, it's simply just a tree. You don't look at a cow and say, oh, that cow's spots looks weird. You take it for what it is, right? Like in nature, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't look at a waterfall like, well, that waterfall looks fucking stupid. You know what I mean? Like, it's simply running water. But just due to our analytical brains and just, obviously at first when we were less domesticated in tribes and we're hunting and stuff like that, we needed to have these judgments, right? Like, what does that sound? What is this? Can I eat these mushrooms? Can I eat these berries? For pure survival instinct. But now I think we still have that part of our brain and we're so separated from that, but we still use it as in judging and finding separations between one another.
The way I see it, though, is that judgment is totally fine. Like, you see a lot of people in the modern world, they'll say things like, oh, don't be judgmental, don't be judgmental. All judging means is making a decision on a matter. Now, the question is that decision based in logic and reason and sensible criteria, or is it based in nonsense? That's really what it should be based on. Like, if let's say somebody's a wicked person, an evil person, they're scamming people in business matters, they're taking interest, they're doing all kinds of evil things, they're sleeping around with a bunch of prostitutes, I can judge that man as evil. There's nothing wrong on me, because the criterion by which I'm judging him based on good standards, morality, righteousness. Now, if I judge him based on his skin color, this person's a black man, he's a criminal because he's black, this is ridiculous. It all depends on what moral framework are we proceeding from when we judge people.
100%. No, definitely.
And I think one thing that's been lost nowadays is the ability to be able to judge people properly. We it seems like nowadays morality, it's all just relative, right? Everybody, they don't seem to even know what's right and wrong. There's nothing off the table. There's no forbidden things, and that's a lack of judgment on our part as a society. It's causing a lot of decay and corruption. That's what I see.
Yes, so back on morals. I was actually going to bring this up, like standards, and I feel like a lot of people have a lack of high standards, low standards.
Definitely.
And I touched on this in one of my YouTube videos. A lot of the bullshit that we put up with is due to our lack of standards, because we are valuing other people other than ourselves. So whether it's like you're putting yourself in a situation just to get some pussy, or you're putting yourself in a situation because you want to be a people pleaser, like, oh, what are they going to think of me if I don't show up to this event? But you're devaluing yourself, and you got to value yourself. There's like a cliche thing, like, you have to fill up your cup before you can start filling up other cups. And so right? Like, not to get too much off the topic, but yeah, anyway, you have to start with yourself. You have to be selfish to be selfless. At least that's something.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
definitely.
And so a lot of us, we put ourselves in situations that we don't want to do, and it's all because we lack the self-value or self-love. Yeah. Because if we truly love it, whether it's being obese, whether it's whatever, you know, like there's so many examples we could use, but obviously I'm not saying, yo, quit your job, stop working, like drop out of society, because you know there's levels to it. But
Yeah.
you understand what I'm saying,
You have
right?
to be practical with it. And of course,
Yeah.
I agree with that, definitely. Like, how in any way can you say, excuse me, how in any way can you say somebody who sleeps around with prostitutes, somebody who's abusing their body by eating garbage food, somebody who is just scamming all the people around them, how can you say in any way that they love themselves even?
They don't.
And I'm not big on using the word love myself, because I feel like a lot of people, they'll turn that into this pride and ego thing. You know, they don't see themselves as wrong. They don't see themselves as even capable of making mistakes. The way I see it is love God. Love God, love His standards. And that is the best way of loving yourself, because if you don't love God, you don't love the true right standards for the way that somebody's supposed to live, you are pretty much hating yourself. You're destroying yourself and people around you.
So
The best way is loving the Most High.
So I think you just answered this question. But yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, where do you get your set of values and morals from, and what, you know, where do you set the standard for yourself? But I think you just kind of answered that.
My values, they come from God, what God has laid down. I know very well, man. I know very well, Sebastian, that and this goes for anybody, I am not qualified to make judgments on moral matters. You are not. The cameraman is not. Nobody is qualified to make judgment on moral matters, because we're always going to be biased towards ourselves or towards our family and towards our friend. We are never going to be impartial. We will always deviate if we follow our own course. We have to follow what God has laid down. We have to follow. People will make excuses for anything. They'll make excuses
100%.
for anything, right? Like on the example of, let's say, sleeping with a prostitute, right? If I'm talking to someone, I'm telling them, that's not right, man. That's sexual immorality. That's an abomination, according to what God has said. He's going to be like, oh, man, but I've been down and out for a while. You know, I needed something, man. People will make excuses for anything.
Yeah.
Charging interest. Charging interest is evil. It's a fraud. A lot of the garbage that we see going on in the modern world, it's because of interest. Interest has put this whole society in debt. It has crippled. You and I have debt attached to our name that we're paying off through taxes. The reason why things are getting more and more expensive, it's largely because of an interest-based society. But you ask the person who's charging interest, they'll be like, I gotta feed my family. I gotta feed my kids. We cannot decide on moral matters. We have to follow what God has sent down. Because it's objective, it's outside of us.
So you made some
it's
really
not
good,
relative.
You made some really good points. I'm gonna try to pinpoint them before I forget some of them.
Yeah. I also brought up the point of people, they're really relaxed on their own morals.
Yes, relaxed
when they judge
on morals,
themselves.
excuses. So you can make an excuse for anything. We will always find a way to justify it. Oh, well, I needed this. Like even as a YouTuber, I needed this camera. It's gonna upgrade my my setup. It's gonna take me to the next level. I need this microphone. Regardless what it is, we'll justify it one way or another.
I need my 7,000 pair of Air Jordan or whatever it is.
No, bro. So don't you're calling me out like that. Come on. No, 100% though. We think outside influences, whether it's material objects or whether it's even other people's opinions, are gonna bring us happiness. But it's back to kind of, we're devaluing ourselves. Like, one of the quotes I love is like, everything you need is within you. But
I would just alter that to say everything I need is above me and within me. It's certainly not the outside material world and people that's going to make me happy. It's what's above and what's within.
Yes.
God. It's
but
our connection to God.
Why do so many people get caught in the rat race of the Western world, of the material world? And don't get me wrong, I love, like, look, you know, I love material stuff to a certain extent, right?
Nothing wrong with that. But when you make it your purpose, when you make it the most important thing in your life, then you find out it's very vain and empty.
And that's why we're in the predicament we're in, because even, like, you know, sections of the government and, like, they are valuing the material or the financial over the greater good of the general people.
Definitely.
And
I talk about this in my book, man. I go into details. Although my book is primarily on the subject of which gets a lot of ridicule, big hate for it, man. This is the thing that made me lose all my friends, and that is I discuss the flat earth, right? Even though that's primarily the subject which I'm talking about, I talk about many other things in the book. I talk about materialism. I talk about man's true purpose, because this subject I'm able to hit on so many other topics. And really what I emphasize is that one of the biggest problems in the modern world, my book is also a criticism of modernity, right? And one of the big things I emphasize is that, which is not my own thing, it's from the Quran, is that it's not our material possessions that are going to make us happy. It's not. It's about living with purpose, living with the purpose that is fundamentally beyond yourself. It's not people's validation. It's not Instagram followers. It's not YouTube subscribers. You know, even when I'm doing my YouTube channel, I don't even check my subscribers. I honestly don't check subscribers.
You shouldn't.
I don't check likes. I don't check any of that stuff.
Numbers
I know
are not important.
It doesn't matter. All I need to know is, am I speaking the truth? Am I speaking what is right? Am I speaking what is truly within me and inside me that God is giving me? If that's the case, whether it's one person who's watching me or a million people, I don't care. It makes no difference. My happiness does not come from that.
So on that topic, yes, I don't think you should pay attention to the numbers. And if you do, if you're solely based or focused on the numbers, you will stop. Where
you mean like stop making content?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it'll come to a halt.
You know what I mean? Because like there's no such thing as overnight success, and like the numbers are not gonna be up to your expectations. And the way I look at it is, I look at it as a training ground. If I can do what I want to do with no one watching, well shit, when I have 1,000 or millions of eyes on me, I can continue to do it. This is the training ground. Of course, you can do it if a whole arena is watching you, you know what I mean? Yeah. You're the center of attention. But can you do it when no one's watching you? And that's the test, right?
It's integrity, man. It's integrity. So many people, when they come in front of a camera like we are right now, they'll put on an act or put on a front. I made a very clear commitment to myself that when I come on the camera, I am not going to put on any attitude. I'm not going to act like tough guy Waleed or sensitive Waleed or any other type of Waleed. I'm going to be as genuine and honest as possible when I'm up there. You know, and people, God willing, if they ever, you know, anybody who watches my channel, if they meet me in person, they'll see I'm exactly the way I am on camera. That's how I'm in person. My wife can vouch for that. I don't put any act because I know that the phoniness, well, not only does God watch me, I'm going to be held accountable for that. If I'm being fake, God's going to punish me for that. But not only that, it will come through. People will be able to peep the game and see what's going on, that I'm not being genuine. You can always see, you can always tell people in their face, you can look in their eye, you can tell when they're putting on an act. That's the most popular YouTube channels out there. You can tell that they're acting.
I think that's one of the reasons we connected so well. Real recognized real. Like you said, you can tell, right? You can tell. I'll be honest though, in the past, I hope to get better at this, but in the past I'm not the best at judging people, a lack of character, but I also think it's because I want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. And I'm a very positive person, so even when I'm looking at someone subjectively, I like to give them the benefit of the doubt, and sometimes that can bite you in the ass. Like I said, in the past, hopefully in the future going forward, I can be a better judge of character on people. Do you think we're moving forward and people want to see, are attracted to authenticity because we're sick of the BS, we're sick of the politics, we're sick of the bullshit, we're sick of the fronts, we're sick of the, because I personally, when I find someone who's truly authentic themselves, like I like them that much more, you know, because it's like like you said, you are not putting up a front. No, you're not doing this because the camera's on. You're not doing this. You
can vouch for this. So far from what you've seen on my videos, and you see me in person, am I not similar to how my videos are?
No, you're the same.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's something I love. I think a lot of people, obviously, were very strong in your faith, in your belief, which is beautiful. And I think, you know, some people, they may stray away from that when the cameras are on because they may be worried about the audience or the amount of people that might turn their heads when they start hearing God or, you know, whatever it might be, right? But obviously it goes back to, like you're saying, this is your purpose.
That's all I'm about,
so it doesn't matter.
My living and my dying. There's a verse in the Quran, my living and my breathing and my dying are for God. That's everything. That's all I'm about. And, you know, it ultimately comes back to my belief, my faith, that I am so bent on the opinion. I am so fixated on that. It's not an opinion, it's a fact that the most important, the most influential force in people's lives is not what they own, it's not what they have, it's not what they know. The most influential force is what they believe. What you truly believe in your heart of hearts, it determines everything how you live your life. Not what you know, the little face and act you put on when you go to church for one Sunday, then you live like a fiend, like a demon.
And you call the prostitutes, like you were saying.
Exactly. What you really believe, this determines everything. Why am I, see, you vouch for this. You say I'm just as genuine in person as I am on the camera. Why am I that way? Because I truly believe that God is watching me. If I'm fake, if I put on this fake Mr. Holy myself, He knows.
You're going to sleep too well at night.
I'm going to face that in this life, and I'm going to face that on Judgment Day. I can't escape His judgment. He watches everything. God says that everything, all the last things that we do in our life, it's recorded in a book. It's all recorded. We're going to see it on Judgment Day. So it's that most crucially important belief in the oneness of God, the almightiness of God, that forces me to stay in line.
It's gonna be a fire book. My life about to be fire. All of our lives. All of our lives.
You don't want to be a fire book because that means you're going to hell.
Oh, I meant okay. You know what I mean. It's gonna be an amazing book.
God willing.
It's gonna be
God
the
willing.
journey that the accomplishments, the inspiration, motivation behind it. But no, that's awesome.
We can only pray, right?
I always say this. I am not shit. I don't think I'm better than anyone. I truly do not.
I'm the same way.
And anything I can do, someone else can do.
Definitely. Definitely.
Maybe this is ego. You can tell me what you think. I think some of the habits I have in place are better. But I don't think I'm better than anyone because anyone can obtain these habits.
Well, it's not you who's a judge, it's God, right? So that's why, and I totally agree. I don't see myself as better. I don't know if I'm going to the garden, which is, the Quranic term for paradise. I don't know if I'm going to go to paradise or if I'm going to go to the fires of hell. All I can say that my habits are better than a lot of people. I think I try to eat clean, I try to work out, I try to watch my tongue when I speak, I try to not use curse words and things like that. But ultimately, God is a judge, man. God is a judge. I can't say whether or not I'm, I have a hunch. I think perhaps I do follow the law of God. Mm-hmm. I don't see anything within the Quran that I'm contravening, but ultimately it's He who's the judge, not me.
Oh, we're not supposed to curse, say fuck and shit, and
there's nothing in the Quran. There's nothing in the Quran that says like don't use bad words, but it does say a good word is like a good tree, that we are supposed to speak good words, fitting words, kind words. Mm. And I think, a lot of times people, they throw in a lot of filler and cuss words, and I try to steer. I'm not necessarily even saying it's a sin to use cuss words, but it does take away, I think, from the clarity of your speech.
Okay. I think it comes back to kind of like intent, right? Like I know some people, like I grew up Christian, I was raised in a Christian household, so, swearing is very forbidden, and like, but if I say I fucking love you, if I'm using the fuck to emphasize my love for you, how is that, how is that a negative?
Yeah, no, of course. It's the intent. It's from where the word proceeds.
But even like you were saying, language is very slippery slope. And I watched a recent podcast, and even the English language specifically, it's deeply rooted in things that are not good, and we say things without even realizing.
Yeah, definitely.
Like morning.
I'm gonna give
good
you
morning. Like that's just an example,
I never even knew that one.
It's so little, but I'll send you the link to this podcast because it's amazing. And this woman is such a poet, but like she even said like the only thing like an atheist, you separate it's atheist.
Oh, it's atheist.
Exactly, yeah. And that's the only two I can think of off the top of my head, but there's seriously, she gives a million examples of how this language is. We talked about the water experiment or the rice experiment before we were recording, and so what it is just, if you watch my YouTube video, or he did it with rice, is you pretty much write negative or positive affirmations, or you speak them to, and I hate you, or
I saw on your mirror there it says I love myself, or whatever.
Of course, you got to. I'm like I said, I'm such a positive person, but I've brainwashed myself. I think everyone brainwashes themselves one way or another. I brainwashed myself to be this way.
If you don't choose what you're going to be brainwashed with, somebody's going to brainwash you.
Beautiful.
I want to be brainwashed with the Word of God. I want to be brainwashed by what's
So that's
right,
all you consume, and that's all you focus on.
That's all I consume. I want to see the whole world through the standards of what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is evil. That I want to be brainwashed by that.
100%.
Why not be brainwashed by what is good?
I think that's beautiful. You said if you don't brainwash yourself,
somebody's brainwashing you.
Regardless.
Straight up.
Regardless. And I've been going on an unfollow spree on my Instagram, because first off, a lot of people, I'm active. I've been posting every single day for over a week now, and I want to keep the momentum going. And because this goes back to the numbers as well. If I paid attention and cared about how many likes I was getting on each post, I wouldn't be posting every day. But that's not the point.
Yeah.
And I even said on my story, someone might get more likes than you, but they post once a month. If you post once a day, you get smaller engagement every day. Technically, you are reaching a larger amount of people, a larger audience.
Yeah.
So it's perspective. You have to change that.
You're more active.
Exactly. But to some people with lacking that perspective, they might be like, oh, well, this person gets there's no point in me in posting. I'm only getting X amount of likes, where this person's getting like triple them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they get caught, they get lost, and that's what stops them from creating. But that's why I said, you can't pay attention to the numbers or anything like that.
I'd actually go on to say that if you have, if you have like millions of people listening to you every single video that you post, perhaps it's a sign that maybe you're not speaking the truth. Because historically speaking, mankind in general has not been attracted to the truth, has not been attracted to what's right. They've always wanted, the majority of people have always wanted the comfortable lives. And I almost see that as like a litmus test. I think the people who are really in this day and age speaking the rawest, the realest, the harshest truths, they're the people that have the least amount of followers, that get the most amount of hate. Because tell me honestly, how many people in your day-to-day life do you actually see speaking the truth? Is it common?
No. We are the outliers.
Right?
We
exactly.
are the... Yes. And actually, okay, that's perfect.
It says a lot when there's very little people listening to you.
I wanna touch... Why do you think that is? Why do you think... Why is most people don't want to become the best versions of themselves? Like you would think... And even some people are like, oh, they'll make the excuse, they'll justify it, oh, I don't want to live long. Okay, even if you had a day to live, you want to make that day the motherfucking best day you had? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
why do people not make the good decisions?
Like, why do people not want to be their best possible selves? Why do they not want to, you know what I mean? Like, better than they could even imagine. Why is it that there's such you kind of mentioned this, a relaxation for mediocrity and for normal, for
not
comfortable.
Excellence, not exceptionalism. Why do people not get attracted to that? Maybe it's just habit. It's easier to stay with the bad habits that you've known and probably been trained in all your life. It's tough to learn something new. It requires you to learn the skill of self-reflection and self-contemplation, evaluating yourself, looking in the mirror and seeing what's wrong with me, what needs to be changed. That's a difficult battle in and of itself, probably the most difficult battle you'll ever fight, right? And people are not ready to face that evil that's inside of them. So instead, they want to take it easy. But really, taking the easy route of continuing the bad habits, it just destroys them in the short and long term, and the people around them.
Yes.
I think the biggest one is habit.
Do you know Andy Frisella?
Not familiar.
I'm a huge fan of him. I've been digesting his podcast every single day as of recently, and he has these posts that he releases every day that you read on his website. And he just said, like you said, because they're caught in the habits, but it might be damaging to them regardless, right? He said everything in life is hard, regardless. Going to the gym is hard.
Yeah.
Looking at yourself in the mirror and hating your image, hating yourself because you're overweight is hard.
Yeah.
So breaking these habits are hard, but guess what's also hard? Getting cancer because of these habits.
You are going to struggle in life.
Yes, regardless. So you have to choose your struggle. You have to choose what type of hard you want to be. Do you want to be the hard, okay, I don't want to work out, I don't want to do reps, but I want to, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I want to look at my shirt off, or even simply for just to take care of your body. Okay, I don't want to get in a cold shower. Who the hell wants to get in a cold shower? That's difficult, but the benefits outweigh the... you have to fight the resistance. And too many people, they don't want to do the resistance, but regardless, the hard times are coming. Regardless, whether you face them head forward or you get comfortable until... there's a great saying that, whispers turn to screams. Like
murmurings and whispers, they turn to screams.
Yeah, even if you have something wrong with your body, at first it'll whisper. But maybe in a couple of years, it'll start screaming because you were not...
If it's neglected or allowed to get worse.
Exactly.
I definitely agree with that. That lines up with the Quranic verse. In the Quran, God says that man was created into adversity. Do you know what adversity means? It means difficulty, hardship, struggle.
Yes.
That's the life of this world, man. You are going to go through struggles and hardships. That's just the reality of the human experience. You just have to decide for yourself what is worth struggling for, what is worth going through hardship for.
100%.
You are going to struggle in the end. There's no... really, this destroys men seeking a life of comfort. A life of comfort. I do not want to live a life of comfort. I want to live a life fighting in the mission, fighting in the cause of God, struggling, but asking God to give me the strength to be able to endure. Because men were not created to be comfortable. That's more of a woman thing. Women, they live their comfortable lives. Children, they live their comfortable lives. The man protects them and provides for them by God's will. But men, they should be seeking worthy battles and worthy causes to struggle and to fight with might and main, to pour their whole soul into. That's what man was created
and kind of
for.
What you were saying, if you don't brainwash yourself, someone else is going to choose. You're going to get brainwashed regardless.
Definitely.
It's the same with the hard. If you don't pick your hardships, if you don't pick your hard times, they're going to pick you inevitably.
Yeah, they're going to be picked by the world for you.
100%.
Yeah. If you don't pick your hard times, that's just it's going to come your way. It's going to come your way.
Do you... what would you say... Even the person I am today right now, compared to a month ago, I'm constantly evolving and making these changes. But like currently, I've never took my health more serious, whether it's the stuff I buy or working out, or like my relationship with God, or just literally I've never been better in life. And it's funny on the topic of food. As a young kid, I literally thought organic was a scheme. Because I was like,
that's a fair
I was like,
thought.
what the fuck do you mean organic?
Okay,
Isn't it all organic? Doesn't it all come from Earth? How is this?
My wife to this day thinks it's a scheme. She's like,
Some
I don't trust this organic that they're putting on there. I don't know if they just put a sticker on there. My wife is the most conspiratorial, and I love her so much. I love this about. She's the most conspiratorial woman you'll ever meet. She doesn't trust anything. She doesn't trust anything outside of the Word of God or the people who've shown themselves trustworthy, like her husband. And I appreciate that about her because it keeps her safe. She doesn't get fooled. She's not going to get fooled, my wife.
I think, if you question things and you say, I don't even think they're outlandish, but maybe to the general public, you say some things that are outlandish, you come off they call you conspiracy theorist, right? They
that's the label.
Yes. How are you not going to question everything? I think your wife sounds normal as fuck. Should you not question everything?
Crazy. She's not crazy. She's one of the few women out here with her head on straight. That's why I married her.
Yo, that's...
Okay? Like, and in the end, the whole conspiracy theory label, it means nothing because everybody's a conspiracy theorist. Everybody believes there's something wrong in the world and somebody is causing that wrong. If you ask the most, like, dyed-in-the-wool, brainwashed, and I hate to use the term disparagingly, but these people have problems, like liberal, right? Some liberal who believes that there's all these multiple genders, they just think, like, men and women are equal and all this just crazy stuff that they're indoctrinated with. If you ask them, about their worldview, they're going to say, yeah, they think a bunch of white men are on top of the world. There's this, like, conspiracy against minorities and black people and stuff like that. They're conspiracy theorists. They believe that, and perhaps there may be some truth to that. I do see some racism around here. Or, there's a whole bunch of capitalists. They're trying to control the world, and they're also trying to, oppress homosexuals. That's a conspiracy theory.
Everything's a conspiracy.
Everything's a conspiracy.
It's just a thought that you choose to believe or not believe.
The mainstream media, on a daily basis, they're nothing but conspiracy theorists. Oh, there's these white people, they all have these guns and they want to shoot up schools. That's a conspiracy theory. Oh, there's these conservative Muslims, they have bombs, they just want to, there's these terrorist organizations.
Be scared. Stay in your house.
Exactly. Be scared. Yeah, exactly. Oh no, they're so selfish, these people. They want to hurt you and your family who don't want to get the shot. It's all conspiracy theories,
the way I've been thinking about this as of recently is, the witch trials.
The Salem witch trials.
This is the common day witch trials.
It is.
Whether you call someone a conspiracy theorist, whether you call someone a racist, homophobic, all they're really saying is witch,
yeah,
witch, and that's the funny thing. They want to point the finger and yell, but they aren't willing to sit down and have a conversation over it.
No.
They just simply want to, for lack of a better word, cancel you.
Yeah, they want to burn you, pretty much.
At the stake. Yeah. And the stake's now the internet.
Exactly,
or,
yeah. The modern form of book burning is just deleting your YouTube channel, censoring you, striking you. That's just book burning, pretty much. Right?
Yo, that's fire. That's fire.
Yeah. Well,
literal.
Literal. Yeah, it is.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I know I've talked to you about this guy a little bit. He's a YouTuber, and even my perception of him has kind of changed a little bit since I think last time we talked, but like, because you said like deleting YouTube channel and stuff. Like Sneeko?
Sneeko, yeah, I know.
His channel
Sneeko,
got
he's got
removed.
this thing going on with Hamza and all that.
His thing's removed. He got 3... it's gone. Like, gone. He's on Rumble. Obviously, Andrew Tate's on Rumble. Someone
Hamza got his Instagram deleted. You know Hamza?
I'm aware of him.
Yeah, he's another...
What was his reasoning for...
I think because he's been calling out these... in this matter, he's right. I criticize him on a lot. I've made videos on him, but in this matter, he's right. He criticizes social media companies and how they're pretty much destroying the West. Yeah, he got banned on Instagram.
Well, Russell Brand even talks about it. That was the other person I was going to mention. Like, he's even now on Rumble. What was once a safe place for freedom of speech, not associated with the higher-ups and corporations and their hand in the cookie jar, it's gotten to the point where it's...
just total thought police.
It's the opposite now.
Yeah.
They are in with all these companies and financial ties, and so, if the advertisers don't want you saying this, or they know that it could be controversial, whatever, back to like what we're saying, like you get called a witch, or you get your books burned, or you get
your
taken
channel
off.
taken down.
Jordan Peterson?
Oh, of course I know Jordan Peterson.
His Twitter got removed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Uh,
I know he's been fighting censorship for a while, but I didn't know his Twitter got taken
just
down.
as of recently, and he's so smart. He released
He's a wise man
He released
in a
a
lot of
video explaining his tweet that they removed, and he refuses to delete it. Which I mean, I think I agree. Like, why would don't go back on?
Stand on principle.
100%.
Stand on principle.
Because he could delete it and he
Be a
could get
man.
it back.
Don't let people
But he's
bully
like,
you.
no.
Be a man, straight up. You know?
100%.
And that's the thing. Like Jordan Peterson, I find him interesting because in this society right now, masculinity is under a huge attack. Huge attack. They want the men to be like women. They want the men to be feminized. And really, Jordan Peterson, although I have my criticisms of him, I don't agree with anybody on everything, right? I only agree with God on everything. And like Jordan Peterson, he's really stood up and he's kind of been like a father to a lot of young men who haven't had it, right? Even whether the father literally wasn't in the home or the father didn't fulfill the duties of a father, he wasn't a strong man, an example. Like a lot of people, they see him as a father because he's pretty much telling young men it's okay to be manly. It's okay to be a man. It's okay to be strong. It's okay to discriminate. It's okay to stand up and have something that is sacred to you and not let anybody bully you around. And a lot of people are getting attracted to that, especially in the present distress of all this woke culture and feminism. Men naturally incline to strength, and Jordan Peterson is really speaking to that within people. He's calling on the nature of man, which is just being brutally attacked by the system.
I think there's other... obviously, everyone knows Andrew Tate, but I think he's going about it the wrong way necessarily, or he's lacking some morality or values.
Definitely.
But he's
mistaken on it.
But he
ton of matters.
Yes, but like you're saying, he is speaking to the man or the young man or the lack of masculinity. But no, I agree. There's definitely way better role models and better men who are doing it more justice than him, and some even Sneeko. That's why I said my views on him have changed recently.
With Andrew Tate, I would just like to say that, you know, with him, he he's a clever marketer. What he's seen is there's definitely like in their teens and early 20s, there's a high demand from young men for manly men. They want manly men. They want to hear men tell them it's okay to be a man. They're sick of, like I said, all the feminism, liberalism, wokeness, and he's targeted that market and turned it into a very lucrative business for himself. And he puts on this character when he's on the camera. He deviates. He teaches a lot of
You don't think that's
stuff.
who he is behind the camera?
No.
It's 100%.
It's played up. It's played up for sure.
Yeah,
Certainly.
it's turned up. Yeah.
You know his whole like brash, how he just speaks, and it's obviously definitely he turns up the volume on that in front of the camera because it sells, right? And it's different from, let's say, somebody like me. When I do my videos, I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm not trying to make any money. God willing, when my book is complete, it's going to be available for free, man. Because I'm not doing this for
physical
the money.
copies?
Not obviously I can't give people physical copies for free because it would cost me money to
Can I
print
buy
them.
a physical? Are you gonna have a physical?
Yeah. But like it'll be available for download for free. Nobody needs
Okay.
to buy a physical copy if they don't, unless they really like the book and they want to have it. And I don't want to make any money off of it. It's going to be available for free download because for me it's about the message. I'm not trying to glorify myself. This body, this clay form which God has given me, it's going to turn to dust. I'm going to go back in the earth and my name is going to be forgotten and only one is going to be glorified and it's going to be Him. I'm going away. It's not about my glorification, my popularity, or my wealth. As long as I'm able to provide for myself and my wife, we're taken care of, the basic needs are there, then I'm more than grateful.
So on that topic of like giving it away for free, Andy Frisella, who I mentioned, but you don't know who he is, he has like a lot of like a podcast, he has a couple programs, stuff like that. He gives all this shit away for free. And
that's a sign of integrity. I would say this. Be suspicious whether it's Andrew Tate, whether it's Hamza. I don't know if Sneeko is doing this, but any of these so-called men's self-improvement, whatever.
It's a sham.
Be suspicious, ladies and gentlemen. Be suspicious of anybody who's trying to sell you wisdom. Because wisdom is not sold. Wisdom is free. If the wisdom that you were teaching was truly that important, then you would be guided to give it away for free. You would be guided to give it away for free if it was that important.
It's like comes back to like purpose.
It's come back to you. If it's really coming from a place of integrity, you'd give it for free because you'd realize this message of wisdom, whatever you're teaching, which it should be based on what God has sent down, but whatever you're teaching, it's not for this. It's more important than that. It's of a greater and higher order than that.
But where do you? Because you can technically say that about anything, even material, like whatever it might be. Where do you draw the line? No, like obviously from like word, like that costs no money, right? Like a message, a word, program, stuff like that, that's free or should be free. But you said, but like material things, that's different, right?
That's
you can't
that's
give
totally
away.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if I'm obviously you have to make a
As
living
you're saying,
somehow.
they're hoarding this. They're saying I have a secret. You
Yeah.
can only get it through me. I'm the gatekeeper.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
It's not like that. It's like, of course, if I start up a lemonade stand or whatever,
You're
I
gonna
can
get
sell
a free lemonade?
Let's say you dancing downtown, right? You make money. You don't really sell it, but people come and give
Sell
you
my
money.
body.
That's totally fine, a product or a service, but you do not sell truth. You do not sell the
100%.
truthful message.
I agree.
The most important message that men and women need to hear, you don't sell that. You don't sell because there's no price tag on it. There's no price tag for it.
And I think this kind of ties in with authenticity. Not selling it, I would think you are gonna grow. Like it's gonna help. It's gonna benefit you. Like obviously, don't not sell it for that reason. But it's just one of the outcomes of giving it, like spitting free game, giving true knowledge, wisdom,
Trying to help people out.
like it's real, recognized real. The people who are attracted to that, they're gonna see that, and it's just naturally gonna spread through word of mouth, through you know what I mean.
Yeah, because people they sense the genuine authenticity from that. When you don't sell truth, when you don't sell your message. For me, even when I started my channel, when I started writing my book, from the beginning I made a commitment to myself. I'm not going to make this a business. There are hundreds of business ideas I could have, totally fine selling products and services, but the truth, the message of God, what is right and wrong, what men need to hear, I'm not going to make that a business. No way, man. No way. Because I have to face God someday.
What if, yeah, I like to just play devil's advocate. What if someone's hurting, poor, and they thought of, I can do this though to get them out of their financial slum or the position that they're in? Would they be wrong to even do it then?
No, they would be wrong, because God in the Quran, he very clearly says he provides for the believers. He will provide for you. If I'm in a down and out position and I make the intention, I pray to God, I want to provide for me and my wife. I got no money right now. I want to provide for my children, and I want you to make a way for me to provide for them without selling my soul, without selling out. God will make a way for you. Have some faith. Have some faith. And he always does. That's been my experience.
Does God, what do you think about like financial success or material success and God? Like, will he, if you're on the righteous path, you're speaking your truth, your wisdom, like it's God, will God reward you?
I hope that he rewards me, but in the Quran,
like nothing is promised, but do you think?
I think so, because God does say in the Quran that anybody who does an atom's weight of good will see it on Judgment Day. Anybody who does an atom's weight of evil will see it on Judgment Day. This goes back to what I said to you before, that God, he has the book, which every single last deed we do, words we say, thoughts we have, it's all written down. We're going to see it. So any good that I've done in the cause of God, any truthful message I preached, not for money but for genuinely helping people, that I'll see it on Judgment Day.
Yeah.
And of course, any evil, any wrong that I said, I'll see that as well.
But like in this material world, like you think he does, the believers, he does fruitfully reward them?
Absolutely. I'll give you the example of King Solomon in the Quran. King Solomon, and in the Bible as well, you'll be familiar with that name, of course. King Solomon was the richest man who ever lived in the history of mankind. He was the most rich man, and he was a believer in the Most High. He believed in God. It's just, his wealth didn't come from corruption. He didn't get rich selling truth to people. He inherited a great kingdom from his father, and then of course he developed it further, right, making smart decisions with money, but he didn't sell the truth. I'm not saying that we all need to live in like a tent in the middle of nowhere with no money. No, that's not the Quranic model. You can have money, be rich. That's a part of masculinity, gaining money. All I'm saying is there has to be certain limits on how you gain money. You can't gain it by defrauding people. You can't gain it by charging interest, because that's a form of fraud. That's theft. You can't gain it by selling truth. You can't gain it by selling out or selling an non-authentic version of yourself. There's certain limits, but other than that, as long as you're within that limit, if you have a genuinely good invention or a genuinely good business idea, by all means get rich. I'm not against money. Not at all.
No, definitely.
Set yourself up.
I just want to know your opinion on, success, material success, financial success in God. But no, yeah.
The two can go together, right?
100%. I agree.
That's one thing you can pray to God for as well. You can pray to God. You'd be like, God, I want to grow my business, and if He wills, He'll help you.
And
right?
see,
there's nothing wrong in that. These things are from God Himself.
Everything is, right?
Everything.
And
everything.
Andy Frisella talks about one of the podcasts. He says that, obviously it's his purpose, and that's why he gives it all this stuff away for free. but he would pray, and he's like, let me become like successful, for I can like do greater good with the success, with these financial means. I can do greater good.
I prayed for that as well. Exactly. I prayed to God that increase me in knowledge, increase me in wisdom, because whatever skills and increase my ability to speak. I've never always spoken like this, right? I've asked God to untie the twist from my tongue. There's a prayer in the Quran where Moses, he asked God, because he's about to confront the evil Pharaoh, or Pharaoh as he's called in Arabic. He's about to confront him, and he asked God, untie the twist from my tongue. I prayed to God, basically, any abilities, financial abilities, speaking abilities, moral abilities, I want to use it in your cause. I want to use it in your cause. 100%. I want to utterly, and everything already is under the will of God, but I willingly give myself to the Most High. Use me for your purposes. That's my whole living and my dying, man.
Like I said, I've really the past couple months specifically, like I've never been in better shape, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, and like pretty much what you just touched on. Like I have a gratitude practice every morning. That's the first thing I like to do. That's the thing. Like obviously, I am grateful for all this, but like we said, I know everything comes from the Most High, from the Divine. Like nothing happens without Him. So I'm ultimately giving gratitude towards Him, because I'm just a product of that, right? Now, even everything you are. This Bachelor, my Jordans, or whatever it is, it's all a product of that. As you said, like untie the knot from my tongue, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like how I was able to get to this current state of being that I'm in now is in my gratitude practice. One of the things I do is I ask Him anything holding me back from being my most possible, highest, best version of myself. Ultimately, leading me to a greater relationship with Him,
which is how you're going to be the best self, having a greater relationship. So I was gonna, it's connected intimately.
I was going to ask that, yeah. So do you think anyone that's on the righteous path, who's self-improvement, not like fugazi bullshit, sham stuff, like I'm going to sell it to you, but like authentic,
real
on that path, it's all like it's a like obviously, like we said, everything's a byproduct of God, but it's because of
God. There's no such thing, man. There's no such thing as an atheist who's on self-improvement. It's impossible. It's impossible, because whatever goodness we have, whatever righteousness, it all comes from God. Who invented good? Who created good? Where's our source of good? Who is the greatest good, the most just? It's God. We have to have a connection with Him. And it goes back to what I said before, how people, they will always, if you're an atheist, you have no objective standards of morality. You just decide for yourself what's right and wrong. And what we said before was that always you're going to be lenient on yourself. You're going to always have biases. There's no such thing as an atheist, man, who's on a good path, who's righteous. No. Any true self-improvement, not selling a course, not selling some sham, it comes from the Most High. It has to. And I can attest to this personally, because I've seen, especially since I've taken my relationship with God seriously, how much it's improved my life, how much my speech has improved, how much my character, my patience, my compassion, my virtue, not virtue signaling, but true righteous virtue, true, biblical Quranic virtue, how these things have increased as I've increased my relationship with Him. You have to have a connection with the divine, because good is divine. Righteousness is divine.
It's kind of like, I just thought of this, I don't know if it relates or not, but like as above, so below. As
above, so below. That Freemasonic doctrine is absolutely true. As above, so below. Your relationship with what's above, God, will definitely determine everything that comes below.
Yeah, like I said, like with my gratitude practice, anything holding me back, any trauma in the body, any toxins, any negativity, any bad thoughts, purge it all.
You ask very similarly as I do to God. I ask Him as well. I tell Him, God, any evil that's within me, any wrong that's within me, just purge it, destroy it, burn it, utterly remove it. I want to be the best servant in your eyes. Whatever it takes, I'm willing to give up anything to be the best. And truly best, not, showing off my wealth in front of the world and my biggest muscles. Although, wealth and muscles are not wrong in and of themselves. It's not that kind of, I want to be the best in your eyes. Even if the whole world hates me, the whole world says, Waleed, you're the worst, you're the ugliest, you're the most disgusting, I hate you. I don't care. As long as God sees me as the best human, that's a successful life to me.
Of course. And it kind of goes back to looking for validation. Like those people who would care about the outside sources, like they're looking for validation in the wrong places. And they're never going to be satisfied. And they're never going to, you can't please everyone. You cannot always be a people pleaser, right?
You can never. You're going to have to disagree with somebody, right? It's an amazing quote I heard, which I'm sure you're aware of, is a man who stands for nothing will fall for anything.
Yep.
That's just straight up truth, right? And, on the topic of materialism, people, they look for these things to make them happy. every person has felt this whenever they bought something new, and nothing wrong, like I said, buying new shoes or whatever, but you buy new shoes or a new jacket, you feel happy, you feel excited for a moment, but then that excitement goes away.
It never lasts.
It never lasts, and you have to buy another one that it never lasts, and you just keep chasing. Keep chasing.
I actually made a YouTube video.
And that's consumerism.
Yes, but it's one of my favorite rappers. He goes by The Omen. He has a bar, and it's probably gonna butcher it, but pretty much he's saying like even greater than any drug or high is like the rush you get from purchasing a new pair of kicks, or whatever the kicks stand for you, whether it's chasing after a woman or Bugatti or whatever it might be. But yeah, it's the high that it only lasts sometimes less than a day, it's not temporary. Even a day.
That's why exactly.
And it's like the hamster on the wheel, right?
Yeah.
There's no end to it.
And really what makes it a curse on people is not that they have lots of things. There's nothing wrong with having 5 shoes, 10 shoes, 20,000 shoes. Nothing wrong with having that. Is that the purpose of your life? It's with what mindset do you approach the things you have? Because of course, my wife and I, we enjoy our wealth, right? Sometimes I buy her something nice. She gets a new shirt, I get a new jacket or whatever. But I'm not expecting everlasting happiness from these things. I know the excitement's going to go away. Ultimately, the most important thing is God and my mission. So when the happiness from that jacket goes away, I'm still okay because my true happiness comes from God, right? It's okay. I don't expect this to make me happy forever. You're a believer, right? You have a strong faith in God. I can tell that from you. And that's the thing that we connect on.
Yes. For me, it's funny because I just don't know. I don't have a name for my God. I call him Divine, the Most High, the Creator. I don't. There's not necessarily. For me, there's not one book that I'm interested in or one solidified path. But yes, like what you said, I do. I'm a firm believer, and personally, I believe all these paths, as long as you are righteous and truly on the path, lead to the same Creator, the same Most High, the same Divine, just different ways. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, the idea of the different paths that lead to the same God. Yes, as long as you live righteously and as long as you live righteously, that's totally fine. As long as you live righteously, that's the key thing here. The Quran is very clear that there has to be 2 things satisfied in order for you to make it to the garden. You don't even ever have to read the Quran in your life. Let's say you don't come across it or whatever, right? Okay. There are 2 things that have to be satisfied. The first one, the most important, is you have to believe in one God. You can't be worshiping statues. You can't be worshiping multiple deities or anything like that. You can't worship a statue that has never even spoken to you. This thing is dead. If I were to take an axe and destroy it, this thing's obviously not God. It can't even protect itself. It's the greatest form of ignorance, right? You have to believe in one God and honor Him. And secondly, you have to do righteous deeds. A charitable man, an honest man, somebody who's good to his, kind to people, honest in his business, good to his family, somebody who is just a righteous person. You have to believe in one God and be righteous and believe in Judgment Day. If you believe in these 3 things, then even if you never come across the Quran, you're, as far as I know from the Quran, you're saved. See, I can't, so when I was younger, I'm talking in high school or maybe even junior high, I remember talking to my dad on the phone and he's a Christian, and he was just saying that, for them, I believe one of the boxes that you have to check to make it into heaven is you have to believe Jesus died on the cross. Yeah. And that's one of the articles. I do believe Jesus was a real person, and I'm sure. I absolutely do. I'm sure he died on the cross. There was another, maybe but there was another piece of that you had to believe or whatever. And you believe he died for your sins and rose in 3 days, and then that's what you needed in order to be saved. Maybe that's, I don't know, but I do I believe Buddha. I believe all these enlightened people that came to spread the message were all descendants of God. The one God, but they're just different messengers, but the same message. At least that's my belief. Because I said, I don't necessarily believe in one. I don't want to. I'm a truth seeker. So regardless, personally in my lifetime, I would love to read, and I'm very grateful that you gave me the Quran. I'm more than halfway through the Gita. I want to finish that, and then the Quran will be the next book I pick up. I want to read the Bible. I literally want to read every single I've read the Gita, religious text, because I think they all, like I said, I believe that they all came from the Creator. So yeah, well, the kind of my understanding of this is that
well, firstly, like you said, you believe in Jesus. I absolutely believe in Jesus. I believe he was a messenger of God, a righteous man, certainly. I don't believe he died on the cross. The Quran makes it very clear that he didn't die on the cross, but it was made to appear that way. Now, how that happened in history, how that went about, I'm not too sure. God has not revealed that, but he didn't die on the cross. That's all we know, rest assured. And as for all these other people, like Buddha and, whoever else, I don't know if they brought the righteous message of God. I don't know, because I know over time, aside from the Quran, scriptures and stuff, they get corrupted. People start adding in their own interpretations, interpolations. People start adding in their own opinions. And I don't know how much of what we have today in whatever the Buddhist scriptures are was the original teachings of what Buddha taught. But if Buddha, whoever he was, Siddhartha Buddha, Gautama Buddha, if he taught the worshipping of one God and being righteous and honorable, then as far as I know, he's a messenger preaching the message.
Yeah.
Right? The Quranic position is that there's only one perfectly preserved scripture from the ancient world, and that's the Quran.
Quran, yeah.
So unedited, unaltered, because that's the one scripture where God specifically promised that nobody's going to touch this. I'm going to protect it from any hands of adding in their own corruption.
Does the Bible say that as well? Because I've heard some Christians make that claim.
No, it doesn't say that. And remember, the Bible is, I think Paul says that, if I'm not mistaken. Paul says that nobody is going to corrupt the scriptures. But remember, the Bible is not one book. The Bible is...
There's even books left out of the Bible.
There's lots of books left out of the Bible. A lot of times Christians will say, oh, do you believe in the Bible? Well, my question is, what Bible?
What version?
Right? Bible, biblio. It means library. It's a library of books. And Christians and Jews, they dispute on what is the canon within this library. What is the righteous books, what's not. The Jews, they believe the books of the Old Testament. That's the Bible. The Christians, they believe the book of the Old Testament and the New Testament. Catholics, they put in more books than Protestants. Orthodox have different books. You see, it's an open... It's not like the Quran. The Quran is one book that was started, revealed, and completed in the lifetime of Muhammad. No, the Bible is a book of in multiple languages, or a library of books in multiple languages from multiple time periods, from multiple people, from multiple sources. It's a massive history of the world. So it's very different from the Quran in that sense.
Do you have it memorized, the Quran? Or just a lot of verses?
A lot of verses,
I know you'd be pulling out verses, you'd be like, yo.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. It's amazing that you say that, because God says that he's made the Quran very easy to remember. And I don't have it memorized. I would love to have the Quran memorized from front to back.
Isn't there...
But I do... Verses, they come to my mind because God gives them to me.
Isn't there a name of people that memorize
Hafiz,
the Quran?
they call them Hafiz.
Hafiz. And their job was to, that way it can never be corrupt or changed. That kind of like their role.
The people that
if they burn the books, they were still there, able to.
Yeah, there are people like that who exist in to this day, that they've memorized literally the Quran from Surah Al-Fatiha, so the beginning, the opening, all the way to Surah Al-Nas, all 114 surahs or chapters of the Quran, they have completely memorized. There are people like that in my family as well. It's very common because God has made the Quran easy to understand. It's very easy to memorize, and that's something I would like to do in my lifetime. And that's the thing, the reason why the Quran is preserved is because God has promised of its preservation. He said very clearly, nobody is going to add their own interpolations into this. And he says
Has there ever been in the past, different, or people try to...
No, there's only been one Quran. And it's amazing. You'll see all the different sects of Christians, if you try to get them to define what the Bible is, they'll disagree with each other. The Protestants, I think they have 66 books in their King James Bible. The Catholics, I'm not sure.
There's
I think
a Book of Mormon.
There's a Book of Mormon, and most Christians don't see that as canon. Then there are the Catholics, I think they have 79, but they add more books in that the Protestants take out. They can't agree on what the Bible is. All the people who call themselves Muslim in the world, whether you're... And I don't agree with this stuff. We should not be fighting with each other. But Sunni, Shia, Wahhabi, all these different sects, as much as they fight with each other, they even kill each other, they shed each other's blood, which is wrong, but they will all tell you the exact same Quran. They will never... Nobody's going to deviate from that. The same 114 surahs. If I get a Hafiz from a Shia Muslim or a Sunni Muslim or a Wahhabi, doesn't matter what sect, they will all preach the exact same Quran from the beginning to the end. Because God has protected it.
I want to ask you this, but I think we might save it for a different episode because I feel like it'll go in depth. I was going to ask you, what is the differences between the different sections? And, these people you just mentioned, and, is it, obviously the beliefs or, the extremity or, some people believe, certain things are haram and others are not, or,
I can summarize it for you quickly and my stance on the matter. So, the two biggest sects, I guess, the Protestant and the Catholic, if you will. These are the biggest groups within Christianity. The biggest groups within what's called Islam is the Sunni and the Shia.
Okay.
The Sunni and the Shia, and it's amazing that they fight with each other. These people, they don't disagree on what's in the Quran, whereas the Protestant Catholics, they disagree on what's in the Bible. They disagree primarily on certain historical matters. So after the Prophet died, okay, there's a certain, this goes into a big part of my channel, there's a certain body of literature that came after the Quran, which is called the Hadith. Now, I have the firm stance of rejecting this stuff. The Hadith is essentially the so-called sayings of the prophets, which I don't think anybody can prove.
It's
It's a separate thing, okay? And essentially, these two groups, they don't fight over what's in the Quran. They fight over the Hadith, and they fight over who they think should have been the leader of the Muslim nation after the Prophet. So whether it should have been Ali, whether it should have been Abu Bakr, they're not fighting
it's after the Prophet.
Utterly after the Prophet, after the revelation, all this deviation came in.
To them, it's just as important as the Prophet?
It's crazy. They think it's just as important as the Prophet and the Messenger. So essentially what happened is, after the Prophet died, of course, as with any legendary figure who dies, there's a lot of people talking about them, right, in the community, in the area. There's these kind of rumors and sayings that were spreading around about him for the next 200 years. Naturally, he was a very influential guy. Then 200 to 300 years later, a group of people came along. They decided to collect all these oral sayings. They were not written down. These oral sayings, which could have been true, could have been false. And they collected all of them, and they decided which of them the Prophet actually said and which of them didn't. And I reject this utterly because, let's put it this way. Let's say you were a very legendary figure. People knew you in your community and you died, okay? Yeah, brush it off the shoulders.
I don't want to die yet.
Yeah. Let's say people knew of you and then people talked about you for 200, 300 years after your death. Then some other people, they came along, they collected all these word of mouth sayings.
Of course it's going to be different.
Who Sebastian was, and then they decided 200, 300 years later after your death which one of these Sebastian actually said and which one he didn't. Does that sound like a logical, reasonable way to come to the truth?
That sounds like the most intense game of telephone ever.
Exactly, broken telephone. And this is essentially, this is my biggest war, my biggest problem with people who call themselves Muslim. It's this hadith stuff, these rumors that spread around about the Prophet. These people, they honestly see this stuff as divine. They see it pretty much equal to the Quran, and sometimes even better than the Quran. That's what I'm against, utterly. This is the biggest source of arguments and fights within the doctrine and the religion. It's these rumors that came on afterwards.
But they're still
and I reject it utterly. I just follow the Quran, what God has said.
But these people, they're still your brothers of Islam, yeah?
Yeah, if you call yourself a Muslim, I'll take you as a brother. If you believe in one God, you believe the Quran is divine, I'll take you as a brother, but I will say this, that you are severely deceived. I'll treat you as a brother because I don't know in the end.
Do you think they're saying the same about you?
It depends on who you talk to. Some of them might call me a brother. Others of them will order for my head to be cut off. They'll say that I've deviated, I've blasphemed the Prophet because I reject these rumors that came about him afterwards.
And God wouldn't want anyone's head to get cut off, I don't think.
No. Well, only people who are actually evil. So people who are murderers, people who are thieves, people who cause corruption in society, they are liable to the death penalty.
Is there any verses that you can think of that?
In the Quran, yeah. God says that it's not lawful to take a life save for another life. So basically, if somebody goes and, God forbid, kills my wife, their life is liable to me. I'm a eye for an eye, blood for blood, tooth for tooth. I'm able to take their life. That
revenge?
Not revenge, for ending corruption. Because I know
I see.
People will virtue signal about this a lot. They'll be like, oh, it's terrible, the Quran, the Bible's filled with the two, death penalty. No, because if there are certain people in this world that are so corrupt, they're so filled with Satans and devils, they unless you forcefully put an end to their wickedness, they will not stop. They will not stop. There are people like that in this world, and you dispatch them from this world swiftly. That's the Quranic law. We're men. We can fight. We can remove evil from our society. Now, it doesn't mean we force people to believe the Quran. There's freedom of belief within the Quran. The Quran in Arabic says, "La ikraha fi din." There is no compulsion in religion or doctrine. We're not allowed to force anybody to believe anything. But if somebody is causing corruption and evil, let's say they're spreading evil, they're killing, these people, they're liable to the death penalty. And that's totally fair and natural.
So there's so much corrupt in this world. Especially
spreading corruption. I'm not saying according to the Quran.
No, but I'm saying there is a lot of corruption.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
And that's why a lot of us are in the situations we're in, or just I don't know the way the system, the government, however you want to label it. Why is like I don't know, I just like play devil's advocate always,
Yeah.
right? Like why would you say like God is letting this corruption roam about? If that's even the correct way to assume that's what's happening.
The Quran is very clear about that matter. Why does God let corrupt people proliferate in our society?
Why are they not beheaded?
Well, so far right now we don't live under a righteous Quranic godly form of system. So it's not like I never preach any form of like vigilante violence that you just go on your own free will and kill somebody. I never
I don't know if we can say that. I don't know if we can say that.
I'm not saying that you do that. I just within a righteous society that has taken the oath and the faith that they're going to believe in the Quran, they're going to enforce the rules of the Quran, the standards of the Quran. Yes, in that type of a system and standard, that kind of a context, then the death penalty is a penalty for certain wicked and evil crimes. So somebody, let's say, killed some innocent, right? Mm-hmm. Like somebody, let's say, raped a child and murdered them. That their I think capital punishment would be upon them.
Some of the sentences people be getting for the crimes they commit are, I'm like, what?
It's ridiculous.
That's it? That's it?
It's so backwards.
And some people are like, oh, well, you know, that's enough time for them to learn their whatever in prison. Like, they'll change them or whatever. But it's like, that's it?
Yeah, some like wicked rapist, he gets 7 months to life, a slap on the wrist. And then somebody is selling weed, they get 10 years. Oh, this is not even Quranic at all. You know, it's evil. It's evil. And the thing is that people, they see this stuff as cruel, but it's not. It's to purge the society of evil and wickedness. Like I said, there are certain people, if you let them continue doing what they're doing, they will not stop. They will continue harming innocents.
One thing I love, I know I've mentioned him a lot, but like I said, I've been consuming a lot of his content recently, and I'll put you onto him if you're interested. But yeah. Andy Frisella, he says one of the best ways to kind of get back is by being the best possible version of yourself. You know, if they want you fat and lazy, if they want you, you know what I'm saying?
You know,
like
masturbating to porn.
The stuff that they're pumping, you know, like you said, like the water, the non-organic, whatever. If that's how they want you to be, the best form of retaliation is to become the best possible version of yourself.
I totally
agree.
Totally agree.
You can make it out of whatever you want to, you know, the Matrix or whatever might be a 9-to-5 cycle. But, you know, being the best version of yourself is the ultimate form of retaliation in this corrupt
in the context of living in a corrupt, ungodly, satanic society. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
That's the only way we can make it out, right?
That's it, man. And, you know, I see a lot of people, they're protesting against the system. They're holding up their signs, like, you know, these Alex Jones type, and, you know, these people, they're not going to...
The gay frogs!
What's the gay frog? oh.
You know about the gay frogs?
No, I never heard of it.
Bro, the frogs are turning gay, man. Alex Jones.
Is that what he's saying these days?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I don't know about these days, but, and I have kind of looked into it. Obviously, we're already going to get called conspiracy theorists. It's one of the chemicals that we spray onto our crops and stuff.
Yeah.
You can Google it, but yeah, it's turning frogs gay. Like so that's why, okay, if you want to get really conspiratorial, that's why there's all this rise of LGBTQT and all this different stuff.
Sodomy.
Because they're saying, if you want to believe this, I'm not saying I believe this, we're just playing a thought game.
Yeah.
It's, you know, one of the aspects is, like, if this chemical that they do, the chemical does exist, it's a real chemical, and it is sprayed on our crops here in Canada, I believe, or United States, whatever it might be, and there has been, as far as I understand, like, tests and stuff done, and, like, it does turn, like, I don't know what the percentage is, like, 1 in every whatever frog.
I think we're under attack in multiple ways: chemical, spiritual, you know, propaganda, lots of stuff. You know, I have a video on the back burner which I have yet to upload where I discuss what I think the real root cause of all the sodomy that we see going on in the modern world, and I think it's porn. I think it's the biggest one. Because what does porn do? Porn, there's a whole, you can go on Reddit and you can see there are people who literally, they talk about their battle with pornography.
What time are we at? Can you talk about this off camera? Because I am interested.
Yeah.
But we can also, like, let's talk about it off camera, but then we'll also bring it back. We're definitely doing another episode.
Yeah.
This is definitely not the end.
No.
So, eat organic unless you want to be a gay frog, and stop watching porn. It's been a blessing, my brother.
Yeah, it has been.
They will definitely see us again.
God willing. God willing. I'm interested in this.
Truthfully, like, this has been, like you said, we can do this for hours because it fills our soul. It doesn't empty our cup, it fills our cup. Like, these type of conversations, these non-surface level stuff, it really fuels us.
This is exactly what I came here for. This is what we planned out, and it turned out just like that. And here's the thing, you know, we're not even running out of material to talk about. It's our camera which is running
out
of
of
space.
time. But let's be honest, I think that's kind of a good thing because, like you said, we could literally go for
hours.
Yeah.
Another
segment. You have like almost too much content.
Yeah.
Blessings, my brother.
It's been a blessing.
Till next time, I'm gonna put his YouTube channel in the comments. Definitely.
Eyes Wide Open. Yep. You can catch me on Eyes Wide Open, where I discuss all the things that we talk about here: philosophy, morality, society, scriptures. I talk about all the hot potato subjects that people don't want to handle, right? So, God willing, you can check me out on Eyes Wide Open. I'm sure you'll find some value on that page.
Yeah, that's such a sick name too.
Eyes Wide Open.
Yeah.